Hey, folks, and welcome to Film Optimist, where we talk about all things film with a gratuitous dose of optimism. I'm your co-host, Seth Boyd.
I am Megan Tierney Flores.
Flores, well, okay, I was about to ask. This is the first time I'm hearing it said out loud, too. Megan, why don't you tell everybody your new name and why? Rather.
Folks, as you heard, I got a new name. Seth, no, I'm not, I promise I'm not jumping on the podcast, like informing Seth about life decisions. He knows too. But folks, I got married. I got married in October, early October, on a California cliffside. Uh, I couldn't ask for anything better. It was really, really nice. So yeah, introducing Megan Tierney Flores, my literal new last name. I kept Tierney for, you know, just for I had a good dad. And so I'm excited to um to introduce myself as that. It's really exciting. I've going through name change stuff, and so yeah, folks, new last name, new husband. Very excited to introduce myself as Megan Tierney Flores. I'm starting to. It's a slow process, as you can all imagine in California, of changing your name. But we're really happy. We've celebrated with Seth, and they've both been so wonderful. And I am so appreciative of Seth for um, accepting this little hiatus of me getting married, and but at the same time, I'm really, really excited to be doing this, be sitting down and recording again with Seth because it's something that we both really enjoy, and it explains a little bit of our hiatus. So thank you to you folks as well for your patience. But yeah, we're excited to talk movies, and yeah, folks, just so appreciative and grateful for this small hiatus that we've taken and for Seth's understanding of that. But we are really excited to jump back in and talk film. But yeah, I come into the holiday season because this is our technical holiday episode with a lot of gratitude
Yes.
for many things that happened this year, but Seth being one of them, of course. So we're
Oh,
excited to
well,
talk
thank
to
you
you
so
guys.
much.
Yeah, of
So
course.
grateful to you as well, Megan, and so grateful to your wonderful marriage with Navi. He's a fantastic man. You're both so lucky to have found each other. Really got we were to do a
Oh,
trip last year, and we
yes.
visited. Meg and I do not see each other that often in person because of distance, but we recently were able to visit each other for the holidays, and that was great. So,
Yes, yeah.
congratulations. Yes, but
Thank
folks,
you so
as
much.
Meg was kind of getting at, we will be posting episodes and recording with more regularity. We have some exciting guests coming out in 2025, and as always, we will do our top watched in at the end of the year. So that should be out pretty
Hmm.
soon into January. So be on the lookout for that. But um, the, this will come out a little bit after Christmas. This is going to be a fun way to extend the holidays. We're talking about maybe I was going to ask you if you can think of the last time there was like a kind of generally agreed on new holiday classic. So we're talking about the Holdovers from
Yes.
2023, Alexander Payne, Paul Giamatti, Da'Vine Randolph. What could be better? What a fantastic movie. Um, and I would ask first, how did you come to this movie? Because there's definitely a lot of kind of film nerds who follow Alexander Payne, who were particularly excited about him and Paul Giamatti reuniting since it's been, I think it's like 19 years or something. It was not
Oh, cool.
since Sideways, which
Okay.
I'm gonna anger people right away. I actually don't like Sideways, and it's like partially because there's pressure on me to like it because I worked in wine for a long time. Paul
Oh,
Giamatti's great
well.
in that movie. It's a funny movie, but I also just flat out don't like it for reasons we don't really need to get into in this episode. But um, did you just see the trailer? Were you
Hmm.
particularly excited about Paul Giamatti? Because I remember when this was coming out, we were both very pumped. I'm trying to remember, how did you first kind of become aware
I
of it?
know. Actually, it's a great question because it's kind of a great like all together story for me too of just a perfect like uh film that kind of came into my life because
Mm,
I came about very organically in that like I remember seeing the trailer in theaters, and they if anybody saw the trailer, even if you've seen the movie, but they really made an effort to make this film look very nostalgic. In fact, people thought that it was filmed on film, and actually it's a film digitally, but they went through a lot of like archival almost effort to make this look like a
Mm.
very authentic 1970s film, which is when it's set in. And so it just it was pure aesthetic like reason to say, oh, I love that. Whatever that is, I want to
I
see that.
That's so on brand for you. I love that. That's fantastic. And like,
Hmm.
folks, what better way to first hear about a movie than the trailer? Because I do not go to the movie theaters often as you do, Megan. You're usually seeing trailers much more than I do,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's a resolution for next year. We'll be watching more movies in theaters.
let
So
me tell you, the power of a
fantastic.
good trailer too is like
Oh yeah.
so I really appreciate it. And this one was just uh such an immediate like yes, I want to see that. And I it wasn't gimmicky either. Like I don't think I think
Hmm.
that it very much held up to the precedent, the standard, and like the feel that this trailer provided. So I just love trailers if they're done really well,
Yeah.
and this one was. So oh, awesome.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I think I want to give a little bit of background on this movie because, like I said, it's written directed by Alexander Payne and I think co-written by him. There was a controversy that this was a stolen script from the case kind of went nowhere because while Payne did receive a script that had a similar premise, it's by all accounts a bad script that goes a really different direction. And Alexander Payne's very open about this being mostly inspired by a French movie that came out, I think, in the 50s. And I'm sorry, not trying to be flippant, I just don't recall the name of the movie. So I
Mm.
just want to acknowledge that head out. There's a little bit of controversy around it that I think is kind of unfounded. And I think most people who've looked into it determined that. I don't think the lawsuit went anywhere.
Mm.
But it's very exciting because Paul Alexander Payne has been nominated for Oscars several times. He did The Descendants, he did Election, Sideways, but his most recent movie before this was an absolute bomb. It was Downsizing, the movie where Matt Damon is shrunk down. So it was also everyone
Oh,
kind of thought maybe he
mhm.
lost his mind, you know, this director who would be really reliable for dark comedies that always were dark,
Mm.
but grounded. Um, so it's definitely was kind of a welcome, like, okay, I was not into Downside. I did not see it. Maybe it's good, but everyone just kind of agreed it looked terrible. It did not do well. And so there's definitely this kind of joy in the film community of, oh, this guy's back, and he's back with Paul Giamatti. It's set in the 70s. We finally have a new Christmas movie. All these things kind
Yeah,
of coming
really.
together at once,
Mm.
which was just this kind of euphoria. And yeah, we watched it just a couple of days ago for this, and man, did it hold up on second viewing as well. It was just such a
Right.
blast to watch.
Hmm.
Um, so let's get into the story here. It's set
Yeah.
1970. Megan, why don't you describe it a little more? I'm always doing this, and I feel like I talk too much.
Sure. Well, you always just describe it so beautifully, so that I'm gonna be like, it's like this and this and this and but anyways, yeah, set
It's what the listeners
1970,
want.
right, brink of 1971. It's literally it goes. Actually, it's a perfect time to watch this movie because it's like a Christmas to New Year's
Yes.
movie, which
Hmm.
they're kind of rare. They don't really talk about this little weird in between space of Christmas and New Year's where you're
That is true. Yeah.
um fat and happy and just rolling on alcohol and everything. So yeah, I like it. And it is there's so many things that are near and dear to I feel like me and Seth's heart in this movie too because it is a
Hmm.
fancy boy prep school um in the extreme wealth fancy maybe like boarding school I should specify and
I would think of boarding
our
school. Yeah.
yeah in the East Coast vibes so we're set on like a wintry snowy scene in which is like literally gorgeous insane optics just from the start
Hmm.
but our main protagonist Angus he's unexpectedly has to stay over Christmas break at this boarding school because his mom and stepdad basically just dip on a like impromptu honeymoon, which I kind of forgot about. That
Yeah.
it's they said that they didn't have time during the whole year to get their honeymoon in, so they're doing it now. They left the boy and he and maybe a handful of truly a handful, like maybe like five or so students are in the same boat. And one unlucky
Hmm.
professor has the task of watching these boys for the holiday season, and it gets kind of like um passed on to Paul Giamatti's character. So
Yep.
that's how they start the film, and that's how he and Angus first connect, basically. And the whole film is basically about this time together, this 2 week period of them uh experiencing the holidays together, and where they don't, in a place where they both don't want to be and don't particularly like each other to start with, which is
Yes.
kind of the precedent of their relationship.
And we also have the head cafeteria manager is there.
Yes.
Mary Lamb, played by Da'Vine Joy Randolph. She's fantastic in this. And
Yes.
so, yep, not really a spoiler, but like fairly quickly, I'd say for the majority of the movie, something happens where like the four other guys get to go on a ski
Yep.
trip, the four other kids.
Right.
um, and then it is truly just the three people left of the one student, Angus, Paul Giamatti, the professor, the instructor rather, and then the cafeteria manager. And I think it's more like a month because I know we get the dates there, but it's like it's the week before Christmas because there's like a week or two before
That's
Christmas
true.
actually starts. So it
Hmm.
is quite a while to be alone. And of course,
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti is the curmudgeon teacher who is expecting them to continue keep up with lessons, keep up their studies, but also
Yes.
keep up with athletics in the
Hmm.
snow, which is he's a instructor, a teacher of antiquity. So he's always quoting Marcus Aurelius,
Yep.
Virgil, and things like this. And
Yeah.
I gotta ask, in general, did you enjoy studying antiquity as a student?
So actually, I did not, and I can't even remember where I did in my like academic career. I
Yeah,
want to go back to it now. Now I'm like, oh, that's fascinating.
I did too. Yeah.
I think that my brain just couldn't like there was a lot going on in schooling days, and
Hmm.
now when I'm Paul Giamatti's age in this movie, I think that that's gonna be my jam completely.
You will be the one
I
brave woman thinking of ancient Rome. Yes.
Yeah, really. I wanted to ask, so to me, there are no, I don't think they set Paul Giamatti's character up as a villain in this at all because,
Yeah,
and
I
even the
agree.
child too, I'm like, all feelings here are valid. This kid got left by his
Yes.
like snooty parents. Paul Giamatti's like, he got tricked, literally, or just thrown into this role that he doesn't want to be in. And they
Yeah.
set up this great like shot or him immediately talking to the dean, I guess, the principal, about
Hmm.
like what like assholes these kids are, and what how this insane school system works, of how their parents will bail them out of stuff. And so I am like, this man's a hero.
Yeah.
You don't you as curmudgeon-y as he is, I say
Right.
he like, there's no ill will, which I think is a really, it's not like a
Hmm.
twisty movie in that sense where he's just this
Yeah.
absolute cartoonish curmudgeon professor
Hmm.
or teacher. He like every feeling is valid from the start, like from all around characters.
I fully agree, especially on the rewatch, because like I think, yeah, I agree. I think you there maybe from a trailer or a poster, you might get the idea that this is about an asshole professor who's just takes joy in, you know, ruining dreams. And that's not what's happened at all. He also doesn't want to be there. Um,
Right.
which I love the thing you have the one line of what he would do otherwise. It's just like could be reading my stack of mystery novels, which is not what I expected. I mean, of course it's reading, but like the one time he would take a break from rereading Virgil,
Yes.
etc., is to read mystery
Mm-mm.
novels. But I mean, and I think it all kind of comes down to, and this is one of the reasons I think that I love this movie so much, is it's a lot more mature movie than I expected in terms of
Uh-huh.
dealing with a lot more subject. Like it really deals with race, class,
Yeah.
quite a bit, and more than the I've only seen a few other movies by Alexander Payne, but much more than they deal with, because the kind of crux of it is, while this is a small working class town, there is this great, very posh private school there.
Right.
And a lot of other people the same age as the boys are going to graduate and they're going to go to Vietnam. And
Yeah.
there's
Hmm.
really not that's not ever going to happen to anyone who goes to Barton. That's the name of the college that finally came to me. The school, sorry.
That's right.
The
Hmm.
one time that did happen, it happened to the son of the cafeteria manager, who is African American,
Hmm.
and even with scholarships that they get, she just could not afford for him to go to one of the Ivy League schools and be protected. So he was drafted, and he did die. So this is like
Yeah.
the one guy that went to Barton that's going there. So Paul Giamatti has the part of this frustration is like knowing that none of these kids are going to have to worry about that, and they're
Hmm.
oblivious to the fact that have their privilege and they're very callous to other people. And I think that's completely grounded. We also find out later in the movie he maybe we find this out fairly quick, but he went there himself. He is kind of a scholarship case of he did really work his way to get into that. He
Mm.
left his family at like 15, and very little said about it, but enough is said about it. Like he truly earned his place there and now teaches there.
Right.
So he's kind of seen everybody come and go, including the dean was of the
Yes.
school was
Yep.
his former student. So, and the
Hmm.
big kind of reason he's being punished is he recently uh, gave a failing grade to the son of one of their wealthiest donors and just would not
Hmm.
budge on it. I also agree. He's right. There is a little bit of the economic situation here, but I
Yeah.
don't think he necessarily made the wrong decision.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just shows the politics of a school too, and how
Yeah.
and I've had teacher friends, they say that like that happens all the time. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of the reality. I say that Seth and I have a connection because because of our little private school. I did not go to an all
Right.
boys like boarding school, but it reminds me a lot
Right.
actually of our alma mater, St. Mary's. Like there was, there's just
Yes.
when it is a private institution, there's just a lot of um like nasty politics that go around, and I thought it was, I agree that it was very well done and just like astute little things
Yeah.
um that set up this place for the kind of people that are there, for
Right.
the power hungry attitude of some of these people, and
Mm.
a character like Paul that has seen been a part of it and like seen it evolve to what it is now, which is really cool.
Right. So I was just remembering, like, for a quick example, folks, I remember because yeah, Meg and I went to the same private college. We did not
Yeah.
wear a uniform or any of that, but still was
Yeah.
private. And generally great school, really happy for education there. But for a quick example of the type of person who would kind of go there fresh out of college, I remember being in a classroom once where several freshman students did not believe me that there was a homeless encampment not that far away from the school. Like just like didn't recognize that that was a problem in the
Right.
Bay Area of California.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm hearing it from something I passed on my commute to school that they generally did not realize was a thing. So
Oh yeah.
so you deal with that type of obliviousness. And I think this
Hmm.
but there's also a great line where he's pretty quickly he kind of starts to bond with the cafeteria manager as well,
Hmm.
uh, Mary, still kind of begrudging bond, but she he's kind of complaining about how they're all just such ungrateful shits who have it easy. And she's like, you don't know that, and
Yeah,
it's a good point. No
that's
matter how
true.
privileged they are, you do get the idea that their home life is really not great, and that's mostly seen with Angus being
That's true.
just parents do not call until the day they're supposed to pick him up. He's expecting to go to the Virgin Islands, I think, and they're just like, no, you have to spend the month by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, there it's nice because like for Paul there, I think that there's such a distance between him and the students. He's just kind of his character like in
Hmm.
the beginning, and then Mary maybe
Yeah.
she just, especially in that she had a boy that went here not, not in the not too far away ago, and she must
Right.
know the more so the ins and outs of like what these kids uh kind of deal with it. So that it is apparent, but I think Paul pretty quickly like um it's interesting because he like pretty quickly makes the change even with Angus, because it's such a good setup
Hmm.
too, because you you know like I say, the optics of this beautiful place is just absolutely insane. And so you're thinking, okay, like a kid is stuck there for the holidays from his rich mommy and daddy kind of thing, boo hoo hoo.
Yeah.
Very quickly, it
Yeah.
it becomes not that, and like it's just such a testament to. Angus's character, but also the actor, and I uh it chips away really nicely too. Like we'd get little snippets of
Mhm.
here and there, and even I mean his circumstance is sad to begin with that his parents abandoned him there for the purpose of their like honeymoon and stuff like that during the holidays, but
Yeah.
it just increases very the pacing is so good. I feel like too of unveiling
Yeah,
Angus's life and just really well done.
absolutely. And I think this was one of the first watches, a movie I knew I was going to like, but also I was kind of stressed to watch it because I just knew that we're going to see characters suffer in a way that's very real world to me. But
Yeah.
it's a delightful movie, and um, I think a lot of people have described the movie as cozy, and it kind of ultimately is. But I know the director hates this being referred to as a cozy movie, which is a very
I
funny
heard that
hill to die
as
on to
well.
me. Yeah, I mean, and
Hmm.
I guess it's like cozy to a lot of people means specifically like Hallmark type of Christmas movie or something
Mm.
adjacent to that. So I can understand wanting your indie comedy drama to be distanced from that. But
That's
I think
funny.
because it is so real, it is so wholesome. You have these real moments. Like you also have the Mary, the cafeteria manager, you have some moments of her really breaking down with grief
Yeah.
over, this is,
Hmm.
I think it's implied this is the first Christmas without her son. And she's
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
widow already. And so this is a really hard time of year for her as well.
Yeah.
Um, Despite, and also you find out she can hear what the kids are saying in the cafeteria, and it's often unflattering as if she has that much sway over the quality of food brought in,
Right.
and
Right.
just basic stuff like that, indignities that she has to endure. That while there's never a conversation about it, I think you do kind of start to get the sense that Paul Giamatti realizes she has it way worse in her interactions
Mm.
with the kids.
Yes.
Because it's just hearing them complain about her cooking and being
Yeah.
ungrateful and all that. But we should talk about the guy who plays Angus, Dominic Sessa. Do you know the story about him, Megan?
So I heard that they tried a few people didn't find like auditioned
Hmm.
a few people didn't find them and then went to a maybe the school that they were some shooting locations that they were trying to find
Yeah,
and asked the local drama kids hey or audition some local drama kids basically. And that's how they
yeah.
found him. Is that right?
That's what I heard as well. Exactly. Yeah, he's and I don't know how many locations it is, but he's was a student at one of the places they shot this. So this is his first movie. Dominic says that
Insane.
he already has, I think, four other movies coming out, including among the most exciting, maybe as he's got the lead in a biopic about Anthony Bourdain coming out.
I
So
heard that as
he has some
well.
small
Yeah.
parts here and there, and he has like that's quite a juicy role. So
Right. Right.
I imagine a rather young Anthony Bourdain, but he's fantastic in this, and as you said, like the movie does give itself a lot of time to pace out this character really well because he he never stops being a certain level of um maybe that what's the right word, antagonistic. He's aware of
Yeah,
his
that's a perfect
situation.
word.
um yeah, and definitely enjoys to a certain degree antagonizing other people, and you find out he's
Uh-huh.
aware of potential mental health concerns in his family, particularly for his father's side, and so he's kind of
Hmm.
processing that. And like I gotta say, the like dorm room scenes that are just kids kind of throwing things and swearing at each other, while I've never had to live in a dorm room, that's just walking through them, that's exactly what it was like. That is just a group of too
Yeah.
many guys. I lived in kind of a halfway house for guys at one point. It was really weird, but that's
Yeah.
exactly what the vibe was. It's just
Yeah.
terrible things being
Hmm.
sworn, and brutal hilarity, not all in good fun at all, but people laughing. So I
Yep.
thought they really nailed that.
Accurate. Completely
But
accurate.
you also have, him looking out for the younger kids who were, being bullied or who are having a harder time. You have
Yes.
him kind of covering for like a kid wets his pants, wets the bed because he's really
Hmm.
struggling in this, and he's encouraging his, I'll help you watch this in the morning before anyone else notices. So
Hmm.
is doing some really mature things like that that
Yeah.
you don't see the other kids do. Is also the best student, at least in the Paul Giamatti's
That's
class.
right.
He's like one of the only ones that is not going to fail the class.
He got like a B minus, or maybe a B plus on the
I think it was
final.
a B plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this brings up there's so many incredible lines that Paul Giamatti has in this, but I think my favorite is when one of the particularly arrogant students gets their grade. They're saying like, I can't fail this class, and Paul Giamatti says, "Oh, don't sell yourself short. I assure you that you can."
Ah, God. Yeah.
So good.
No, so funny also. We can talk about that too,
Yeah,
but
this movie's
this
hilarious. I hope we should comment about that. This is a very funny movie, and again, on a rewatch, I laughed at every joke. It just
comedy
worked so well
forward.
for me.
Yeah,
Yes,
it did. Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, so many other things to kind of
I know
discuss in
it's
this movie. Where do you want to go next with that?
I mean, I think about Angus too, or I can't even imagine this actor must have like jumped for joy when he got this role. It's
Oh
insane, and I
yeah.
did hear that he's getting more stuff, which is awesome. I like
Hmm.
in the nicest way. I think I like that he also looks very normal. Like he looks like a normal
Yeah.
like guy and kid. I could see this role could almost have gone to like a Timothy Chalamet, and it would have been a really, really different movie. I was kind of thinking
Hmm.
about casting and stuff, and
I think they might have actually
um,
auditioned him. I could be wrong, but I fully agree with you. He's a little one, he's unknown, which is really important.
yes, yeah,
I think is a handsome man, but he has a more of a distinctive face than
I agree.
someone
Yeah,
like Timothy Chalamet or someone who is maybe more of a pretty boy, for lack of a better
right, right,
term. I
right,
think he
or
has a
just
more
actory,
distinguished look.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
He just looks so real, and it really there's also just a very large nostalgia factor to all of it. I mean, I think that I wonder if that's what the director Alexander Payne kind of like kind of dismisses or whatever is because to me this thing is just
Yeah,
dripping with like
it's very
nostalgia.
nostalgic.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean, as as you just want to be there. You want to live in whatever world
right.
this thing is, no matter, I kind of maybe despite the the situations going on, I guess, but it's you just want to
Yeah,
be you want to be in that thing. But yeah,
no,
I think that
that's really true.
they're
Yeah.
mhm. it
Yeah,
to
go ahead,
me it's
sorry.
like their dynamic, like Paul and Angus's dynamic is
Hmm.
it becomes so like sweet very fast as well. Like we
Hmm.
learn quickly that Angus like basically doesn't have a relationship. He says that his father passes away, so we think that
Hmm.
his relationship with his father is basically over, and his mom has a new husband that
Yeah,
they're doing their own thing. So he's losing that father figure, and Paul is a
yeah.
has kind of no one in his life. It very is what it's like sets up to be like. And so pretty
Hmm.
quickly they create a very it's it's kind of amazing how loving their relationship becomes, which is
Yeah.
a part of it. It's so sweet. Like it's really and I've had experiences with teachers where they're just, they become you when you work with them so closely. The relationship between teachers and kids are really like overlooked sometimes when they're such a large
Yeah.
part of especially a boarding kids like school's
Hmm.
life. So it just seemed very authentic as well. Nothing was too much or anything like that, like especially for both of their characters. They were both they it just developed very very naturally, but in a very sweet and kind way. It was nice. It was nice to see.
Yeah. I think you're definitely hitting on too maybe why the director's upset by this because like it's a much sweeter movie than I think you would expect because like you and
Uh-huh.
it's sweet because it deals with all the heavy stuff it deals with. Again, like we have the backdrop of the Vietnam War comes up several times
Yeah.
in some grounded ways. It's not like um they just keep showing footage of it or something. Like I think it's very organic to the story, to the town, and to
Yeah.
the way these characters see the world. Um, you have mental illness, you have, kind of at the very kind of lower end, but still really hard is you just have this era of really absentee parents,
Yeah.
just,
Hmm.
as he sees it, like he being Angus is like, we're just here because our parents don't want to deal with us. They just kind of want to
Hmm.
go do their own thing, which I think is always kind of in the point of private school, but it is a fucked up
Right.
thing that he's dealing with that maybe Paul Giamatti has not really considered as much. But no,
Mm-hmm.
it is a sweet relationship that grows. And another, like, you see so many moments of them, um, Angus really just thinking on his feet really quickly. Like there is I guess the most important thing that we have in this movie that also is in the sideways that I'm glad they brought back is a scene of Paul Giamatti absolutely struggling to run. Just it's hilarious to
Oh,
watch, not because I'm trying to make a fat joke, I think, but he's just a very good actor at playing a character
yes.
who should never be running and
Right.
just struggling to especially keep up with this very lean, fit kid. You have this
Yeah.
chase sequence that is largely the kid kind of snapping in boredom, but does result in a broken or a dislocated shoulder. And
Oh, yeah.
when they get to the hospital, he just kind of it's become aware he's been made aware that this is going to be a big problem for Paul Giamatti. He could be fired over this, and
Yeah.
just thinks on his think. It kind of comes up with a lie that makes it sort of this isn't documented. This is and it's kind of
Yeah.
one of the first real nice things one of them does for each other.
Right, right. And immediately sets the tone too
Yeah.
of like, okay, we kind of like I have your back in a way. Like they don't have to worry, I guess. They're
Hmm.
like they start to really look out for one another in that way. And I think it just allows them to open up even more, especially Angus, open up more about what's like actually going on, which helps out even
Yeah.
to an extent. Like Angus is still really reserved. The ultimate thing about his dad that I said, like while he says that his dad passed away on their he requests to go to Boston. He's keeps mentioning Boston, and it's almost like that he wants to
Yeah.
visit Boston, and it's almost like the audience is set up to think, well, he just wants to, like F off and go to Boston, for the holidays,
Yeah. I
for
just assume that's the
whatever.
closest town or something, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the big city, like for the holidays, but it's
He's
revealed
got a
that
girl in
his
Boston or something
that's true.
like
Yeah,
that.
there's so many such like whatever. And even in his pleading for it, he says, I want to go ice skating, all this stuff. But it's revealed his
Mm.
real reason is that he wants to visit his dad. And Paul Giamatti says, well, of course I would take you to a graveyard. Like he's assuming he just wants to visit the headstone. But his dad is, it's revealed that his dad is institutionalized in Boston, and likely for they said like he reveals like schizophrenia, but and we get to see him interact with his dad in the institution. But it's kind of sad. Like it reminds you that I saw another some other like YouTubers or like podcasters talk about it, but they're like, this is probably just like it might have been just dementia, like pretty bad, or dementia or Alzheimer's going
Yeah.
on, and you forget that the
Hmm.
70s are like, yeah, you know what, like that's enough to be locked up. But it's also a piece of the mom just she has her whole new life. She doesn't want to deal with this aspect
Yeah.
of her past and can institutionalize her husband and stuff. So he is
Yeah.
pretty gone in their interaction. And it's really devastating, like very quietly devastating because Angus is so
Mhm.
excited to tell him about his school life and just interact normally. And the dad's paranoia comes on, and he like all he says is like, I think they're putting something in my food. And so Angus, I mean,
Yeah.
basically you realize like Angus is he knows that he's mourning. He really doesn't have his dad anymore, but it's that weird thing of them being there and them not basically not being there. They're just kind of it's just kind of which I'm sure a lot of people deal with. So it's another layer of like very like I think the holidays would bring up a lot of these kind of feelings and interactions for people of um that kind of like that blue Christmas, the Christmas blues, I guess, that must happen for a lot of
Yeah.
folks during this time. So it was really
Oh, absolutely.
a good moment.
No, I think that's a great point. I had forgotten some of the details, but you're right. I think dementia is actually very likely because the main kind of diagnosis symptoms we get is confusion and then kind
Yeah,
of at worst acts of violence, which is
that's right.
pretty common with dementia. So I think the movie is kind of better for not giving a specific diagnosis and um, folks, neither of us are say college students. So there's something more obvious that we're missing here. Let us know. But I think it's better that it's kind of vague, but it very much could
Right.
be that. But either way, the kind of facts are, it doesn't seem like the mom has given up on him being reachable. And so he's
Uh-huh.
just kind of locked away like Angus. And so there's also this fact of him saying his dad, like he is currently locked away by his mom, sent away, and then his dad is sent away. And so there's definitely that kind of fear of that being his whole life.
Yeah.
Um, there's also another detail of Vietnam is the threat looming over Angus as well as if he does get kicked out of Barden, the school, this will be the third school he's kicked out of, and then he will be sent off
Uh,
to the military. So
yes.
he would be another rare exception of someone going to the army and very likely being killed in Vietnam. So it's another very real, terrible threat too. That is, I believe it comes out as kind of new stepdad's idea, who also doesn't want to deal with them. So
Yeah.
yeah, you have
Yeah.
these very grounded things. Then you kind of find out, the main reason he wants to kind of run off is to just see his dad. It's something that simple. But like you said, he has to
Right.
mourn a living person, which is a terrible thing that many people have to do. So
Yeah.
again, with the cozy, it is still a very nostalgic, warm, comforting movie,
I know.
despite all this. And it has a perfectly bittersweet ending because this cannot work out for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think we should address the ending here. Is
Hmm.
um, basically they get caught because
Oh yeah.
Paul Giamatti was not supposed to take him out of the property grounds. He finds out that he was, and he just takes the fall and says it wasn't Angus's idea, it was all mine. And so rather than let Angus get kicked
Hmm.
out and go to military school, he just tells off the parents and he falls on the sword. So he's
Hmm.
fired.
Hmm.
And what did you think of this ending, Megan?
Um, I, I I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, not the circumstance, obviously, but it just
Mhm.
really kind of put a nice cap on their relationship. And I was thinking about the ending because I like finished it up last night, and
Mm.
their final like goodbyes to each other are so sweet and really well acted. Like it's like almost sickly sweet, but not
Yeah,
in an overacting kind of way to me. It all felt so appropriate, I guess, is and just and natural. Like they're both like tearing up basically about having to say goodbye to each
yeah.
other and recognizing what the other have done for the other. And oh, it was
Mhm.
just man, like Paul Giamatti and Angus, Paul got nominated for an Oscar.
Yes.
Actually Mary is our Oscar winner in this as a supporting actor,
Yes, she was.
which is really really nice to see. But this ending moment is just so sweet. It's very the level of like reverence that they have for each other is really subtly like seen, which is it was so nice.
Yeah. It's it kind of brief. It's a really hard thing, I think, to get these farewell scenes that are there still is no one's coming out flat out and saying what they really want to say. And that's
Yeah.
gonna kind of haunt you
Yeah.
to a certain degree, but it's still very sweet, and then yeah, Paul Giamatti just leaves and he's gonna kind of go finally see Antiquity. He's gonna go to Carthage and he's gonna finally work on his, what's it called, a monograph? Because
Yeah.
another favorite line of the movie is he talks about how he started a monogram on, I think, Carthage years ago. Explains it's kind of like a smaller
Oh
book.
yeah.
And Angus says, why don't you just write a full book? And then
Uh,
he's just like, I don't know if I have that in me. And Mary, our cafeteria manager, says, like, man, you can't even dream a whole dream, can you? Which is such a brutal,
yeah.
funny, like such a low bar. I might write this really small thing, etc. But
Oh man.
there's the big kind of question, and one thing we haven't addressed yet is I wouldn't necessarily say alcoholic. Maybe that is just about me, but Paul Giamatti is drinking regularly throughout this whole movie,
Yeah.
particularly once it's kind of winter and he's stuck with the kids. He's not like drunk in
Hmm.
class or anything,
Yeah,
but
no.
he
Or
he
like
is.
taking
Yeah,
the
he's
swigs of
not
the bottle under the desk or something
exactly.
like
He's
that.
not necessarily being irresponsible. Exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
he is drinking while he's watching the kids in the library, and they all know it. But it's to me kind of more of like a 70s drinking consumption was just higher thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so the last moment we see that he has stolen the bottle of cognac from the dean,
Yep.
and
Yeah, yeah,
that's his last little middle finger to the institution finally leaving, which I find that satisfying.
I loved it. Gift from the board, the dean said,
Yeah,
and he's
that's right.
more so a nephew to the board, which is basically all
Yeah,
what it would always be. So where you should be
and
put your anger in, I guess.
that's very true.
Hmm.
And he's like his drink of choice is just Jim Beam straight,
I
which
was
I have
gonna
to imagine
say
in the 70s was like a very cheap. Like
Jim
that is a
Beam.
low, yeah. It's actually usually probably if we have listeners who are about to become of drinking age, I don't know if that'd be like it's cheaper and maybe better than Jack Daniels because it's not as popular, but it's not good.
Oh,
You
Jack is
know?
disgusting.
It's
Uh,
yeah.
Hennessy is disgusting. So,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
he gets it at gas stations and everything, which is
Right.
so, he knows where to
He
get
has
it.
a he has a dependence, but he's definitely like give me the cheap stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
so seeing him also kind of have this like hundreds of dollar bottle and
Hmm. Yeah, really.
is kind of satisfying. Um, the other kind of detail that I loved about is like everyone is before you even I think see him maybe or after you do, everyone is kind of talking about how off-putting Paul Giamatti's character is. Like you have the
Right.
teachers talking about this, you have the students talk about this, and at one point you have Angus just kind of flat out tell him you smell like fish, and turns out
Yeah.
this is a real skin thing he has, and he's aware of it. So you also kind of have a little bit of I think there's like two kind of medical things he has, or maybe it's just the one that is a real condition that he's kind of struggles
Hmm.
with. And it's like, oh, that I would also be people who have things like this are tend to be more prone to loneliness because it's
Yeah.
embarrassing, and
Yeah.
he is um conscious of it. And it's like it no more is really said about it, but you just kind of have that moment of like, of course, this on top of everything else, he's the only one from working class background that teaches here. He has this
Right.
condition, and he's just kind of, I think, you get the idea that long ago he just gave up on trying to please people and was just doing his own thing. And
Hmm.
it just there's a lot of I think there's just a lot of respect and dignity given to all the characters
I
and
agree.
a way that I
Yes, I
appreciated. Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I think I said before, he's almost like cartoonishly like a bad, professor character, but the
Yeah,
film
right.
really
And he has the
quickly,
lazy eye. Yeah.
yeah, the film really quickly like does not make him that. And he, like I say in the
Hmm.
beginning, he's telling off the dean for like the stupidity of the school that's happening, and you
Right.
qu and not even like not even in an underdog kind of way to me. He's not really
Yeah.
that. Like I feel like he's just there's a lot of like I think they even there I'm trying to remember that there's really great lines in all of it, but there's a line about dignity too. Like there is a lot of
Yes.
dignity with all these characters. I think that he says it. He says a line about like you're born with your dignity. Like don't diminish it.
Yeah.
And he's
That's
also
right.
he's a very gentlemanly to marry. Like in a lot of one of
Right.
my favorite lines too is he tells Angus they're going to their dinner. He tells Angus, "Stand up for the lady, you bore." When Mary comes in
Yes.
to sit down. So he's like
Yeah.
gentlemanly to a like a very high standard, and it's
Yeah.
very sweet. He's such a complex character, and so it
That's
was
true. And
so
the one time he truly go ahead, sorry.
just that Paul Giamatti is so fun to watch in this. But everybody, but
Absolutely.
he's
Yeah.
amazing.
The one time you truly see him lose his temper and he's not as, verbose or articulate as he typically is with
Yep.
a student saying something disrespectful about not just Mary, but, something to the effect of why is she still grieving? Something
Oh
really
yeah.
horrible. And that makes him like slam his fist and yell. And it's a very appropriate reaction to a horrible thing said, I think. So
Hmm.
yeah, he is always polite, even if he's off-putting, and
Yeah.
I should say always. He is also the guy talking in movie theater, but
Yeah, yeah,
telling
that's
someone to fuck
true.
off. But he's
Oh my
giving
God.
particular attention to people who do not get respect, and I think that's what's unique, and he's particularly Mary, who's going through things. So
Agreed.
um, No, he's a great character. Mary's great. This is just such a fun movie. And going back to a question posed earlier, I cannot think of the last time there was a movie that, and this was not like a box office smash. This made a
Oh yeah.
profit. It was a small indie movie that is
Hmm.
also on streaming pretty quickly, so I think a lot of people saw it there.
I agree.
But like
Yeah.
most people I know have already watched the Holdovers this year. And
Yeah.
I think for like a kind of mainstream movie, maybe the last time was Elf, which is really a family movie, so that's like 20
No, it's
years or
true.
something. Maybe
Yeah.
there's something in between there that like I just missed generationally of not being at family gatherings where there's a lot of kids, but
Hmm.
that's very cool to see. There's so many movies that are considered Christmas classics are decades old. So um
Exactly. Hmm.
yeah, and I think actually one of the other movies, I can't remember which, that Dominic Sessa has on his upcoming um, films is another Christmas movie. So
Really?
um,
Wow.
if he if we can count on him to do a Christmas movie for every couple of years, I'll be very much there for it.
Right. Typecast already, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Any yeah.
I hope him the best. Like I'm so excited to see
Absolutely, yeah.
more of his. I can't believe that he was like a theater kid that they just pulled up. I
Yeah, and
um
he is, I think, 23 years old now, and I can't remember when they started shooting this. So like he was, early 20s or possibly still a teen. That's which I should say
yeah.
too. And he's playing a 17-year-old, which is a much smaller gap we usually have for an actor in
Yes.
Hollywood and the age they're supposed
Agreed.
to play.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it all just was so it worked perfect. Like it very authentic and
yeah,
believable. Like again, this is or I connect so much because like this is a kind of movie, and if I were to ever make a movie, this is what I want it to look and especially
yeah.
feel like. So
Hmm.
I just can't.
Yep.
It almost feels like a first like hit out of the gate
It
for a
kind of
director
does
or
have that.
something, right?
Yeah, and he's been making movies for I think 30 or something years. It's not, but no, there's a real interesting freshness to this that
Right.
I fully hear you saying. One thing I
Yeah.
want to mention real quick is that music is interesting because you have like two or three needle drops. You have like Cat Stevens and some 70s stuff, but most of the music is actually a modern musician, and the
Oh,
songs just sound like they're from the 70s. It's mostly acoustic stuff that you get.
they
And I
sure
don't
do.
recall if that's just that artist's style or if that's if he was commissioned to kind of do that. But
Yeah.
it had me a couple times thinking like, I don't understand, like, is this Leonard Cohen? I don't recognize this. Definitely not him. But then and then not thinking about it, which was I think nice. And my wife Anne pointed out that's maybe part of the point is you're not distracted by, oh man, remember this song. You're
Hmm.
just paying attention to the movie more. Because yeah,
That's
the few times you do have there's really like selected, I think like three known songs on a movie, maybe less.
oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
but that was kind of the effect that it had on me. So that was very smart and very cool. And I haven't really seen that before because like such a completely different movie. Skull Island, the King Kong movie from like 8 or something years ago.
Uh-huh.
Pretty fun, but I think the only reason that movie is set in the 70s is so that you had some kind of visual homages to Vietnam movies and you had a 70s soundtrack. Because there's nothing
Uh-huh.
really that makes sense for why it needs to be then, but you just, have Queen's Clearwater and all this stuff on the soundtrack. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, we're used to seeing these images to this music and it's a Vietnam movie. So it's odd. And that was distracting a fun popcorn movie. But this is
Right.
such an opposite approach that I
That's
enjoyed.
funny. I did not know that. That is very interesting. That's a great point that Anne made. There is like a subtlety to just to all of the movie to me. Like
Hmm.
there's a subtlety to the and not that it's understated, but like it's just to me everything works. Like everything is very believable.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's a
Hmm.
part of it, but that's a great point, Anne. Good job, Anne.
Yes. We'll pass it on to her. Okay,
Yes.
well, Megan, any closing thoughts on this?
Oh man, you made a good point, Seth, that this is a great like if you're craving a newer Christmas classic, to
Yeah.
me this is sorry Alexander Payne, but this is a Christmas classic and it's cozy and
Yes.
all
It's
the
cozy, damn
all the things
it.
that you don't like about it, it just is. So I highly recommend people to watch it. I think it's such a uh it really gets a good balance. It does a good dance of like a little bit of a sad Christmas, a little bit of the
Right.
sweetness that is the holiday season, and I can't imagine it being captured better than in this movie. So
Yes.
I fully enjoyed it. Will enjoy it again. This was a Bob Tierney, my dad, approved movie. He loved this movie.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, yeah, it was
We
nice
gotta
to
have a
watch.
separate list of the Bob approved movies.
I really do. If he's very
Yeah.
specific, but this was one of them. I like
Yeah.
he immediately really
Okay.
liked it. So, it's probably, I mean, this is
Nice.
probably his era too. So, true nostalgia
Yeah.
for him. But it was really fun. Like I watched it with my family, and it was really
Mm.
enjoyable. So, highly recommend that you do as well, or just watch it by yourself.
Yeah, well, it is a sweet, cozy movie. It is also like dark and strange enough or different enough that like if that's not your thing, it's still just a great movie. So
Yeah,
give it a try. And I mean, to me, the main reason I wanted to watch it again was just like Paul Giamatti has been great for such a long time, but still is largely doing character actor kind of side character thing. So always
yeah,
excited to see him in a lead role. So
yes,
that's kind of all it takes for me to get my ass in the seat at the theater. So
I know.
um,
Yeah, he was Oscar nominated, like we said, but
yeah.
this was up against Oppenheimer, Barbenheimer
Ah,
year,
right,
and so
Barbenheimer.
that's
Right.
what happened. But like
Yeah.
very worthy. Kind of surprising that they. I was very happy with this Oscar nominations and the win for
Yeah, that was a good
Devon
year for nominations, I think.
Divine Joy. Yeah, she was
Hmm.
amazing. So happy all around with the reception of the movie too.
Right. Okay, well, let's move on to our recommendations. Do you have one ready,
Absolutely.
Megan?
I do have one in mind, yes. I was really trying to look for like a something similar to this, but maybe it's a
Mm.
testament to the movie. I really came up short. I was like trying to think of a Christmas Eve, movie, and
Sure.
I just was not finding one that I wanted to recommend. But I did recently see a very, very indie movie, a very similar to my Fremont pick from a while ago, which is about
Mm.
Fremont because this is a movie that is set once again in Fremont. It feels even
Oh, cool.
somehow even more indie. But that's a film called Dee Dee that was directed by a Bay
Okay,
Area native. I think it's streaming on Peacock. That's where I saw it at least.
cool.
And it is like very, like I say, almost somehow even more indie in the best like kindest way possible. It almost feels like a student film. Like it has very much that vibe
Fantastic.
going
Yeah.
on. And it's nostalgic in kind of different ways because it's set in like early onset YouTube era, like maybe like
Oh, wow. Okay.
2008-ish of like
Our
being
youth.
12 years
Yeah.
old. Yeah, and being on like
Mm.
uploading stuff to YouTube pre like limits on anything at all, no age, stuff
Oh,
going on.
wow. Yeah.
So and it's nostalgic, like they will take the actual clips of like what YouTube looked like and even Facebook looked like at the
Mm.
time. So it's just a blast.
Wow.
It's following a like I think he's probably 12. He's like in seventh grade, a seventh grader.
Hmm.
Just very slice of life in that regard. Like his sister's going off to college, his grandma lives with
Mm.
him, his mom and him in a little, tiny in a smaller apartment or home,
Yeah.
and just his life as like a seventh grader. So it was
Oh,
really nice to see like literal dead Fremont, like in the middle of Fremont. So that's my
wow.
jam. That is so much fun. And he did a great job. It's very coming of age, but at a hyper specific time in life, which is kind
Yeah.
of, I mean, I was 12-ish in like 2008, so it was just amazing to see.
That's awesome. And
Hmm.
I've not heard of that. So glad to see that. I will keep an eye out for that, Megan. Thank you.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a movie from the 60s called A Thousand Clowns. Stay with me. There's no actual clowns in this movie. It's a line. It's a
I
reference
think
to a
I've
line. It's
heard
said
of
at
it.
one point. I
Yeah.
think you would like this movie, Megan. I think we might need to cover this
Yeah.
eventually. But this is a really strange indie movie that was, I think, completely unavailable for decades. But now you can get this on DVD and it's very easy to find. But it follows. It reminded me of Holdovers because it just centers on a strange dynamic of a man who is a very brilliant writer. He is a comedy writer for like a kid show, and it's a job that he rightly thinks is beneath him, and he quits. And he quits before the start of the movie.
Mm.
But in he's essentially in sole possession of his nephew, who's about 12, and it just comes out of one day his sister, who it never makes an appearance in the movie, just dropped the boy off and left.
Oh.
And it's been years, and he's just been raising the kid. The kid doesn't think it's his dad or anything, knows it's his uncle, and they just have a hilarious, strange dynamic that's kind of enabling with each
Hmm.
other. The kid has not settled on a name yet, and that's fine. The dad just calls him whatever he wants to be called that day or that week, and they just roll with that. But the kind of inciting incident is somehow like finally civil service is aware of who is this kid. What do you mean he doesn't know what his name is, and he
Yeah.
hasn't been in school? And so
Uh-oh.
and basically all kind of comes down to he's really, if he wants to keep the kid, which he does, and they have a very loving
Hmm.
relationship, he's got to go back to work, and
Mm.
probably is gonna have to work the place that he can't until the boss, fuck off and left. So
Uh-huh.
he's got to kind of swallow his pride. It's a genuinely hilarious movie. It does not go the way I expected. There's a lot of weird kind of twists in it, but it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And it's
Oh,
very
wow.
sweet
Yeah.
while being very grounded. Sounds like an odd word, but like it's gets into some really gritty, strange things, including just like abandonment and this strange but um, feels very real dynamic that they have. So another
Wow.
great weird movie that will um, touch your heart, but also not be a Hallmark movie. So if you want to go the roundabout
Yeah.
way, pick it a feeling like the Holdovers. This is the way to go.
Nice. I was gonna say
Yeah.
that now that's a from what it sounds like, that sounds like a good comparison to the holdovers for
Yeah.
feel wise. Nice.
I had to rack my brain to think of one. I thought about just doing Paul
Yeah.
Giamatti movies, which all throughout. The Illusionist is great. Check that out. I haven't seen it in a long time, but he's wonderful in that. So
Hmm. I know. He was really I want to see more of him because he was great in this movie and
yeah.
I'm hoping for his Oscar. Maybe he'll be kind of like a
Yes.
comeback kid
Yes, absolutely. It could
just for
happen.
his
Yeah.
recognition.
No,
Yeah.
he's had a great long career. Yeah. Okay, folks. Well, happy holidays from us. Merry Christmas, Happy
Yes.
Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I
Yes.
need to check the others. My apologies. Uh, Free Palestine, and I think do we have anything else to say, Megan?
Wow. Preach, Seth. Happy holidays to you
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
lovely family and Cooper, sweet Cooper. Um, and
Thank you.
I,
I thought you were just talking to the
yes.
audience until you said Cooper.
No, to you specifically, but also our audience.
Thank you.
I think this film is really nice because it also recognizes like this is kind of a hard time for people a lot too. So,
Yeah,
we're right there with you if you're feeling that way and but it's beautiful at the same time. Everything is, there's a lot of beautiful culminations at the end of the year and I'm certainly
yeah,
so thankful for everything that happened this year and just wishing everybody well.
absolutely. Have a great holiday, everybody, and we'll talk to you in the new year.